In this video, we're going to do something a little different with our lookup. I want to introduce using the XLOOKUP. Now, we used a VLOOKUP early on. Let me just go to that real quick if I can get there. I think it was this one. And we did a VLOOKUP to determine what the costs were for the various types of cars. So we did actually we included an if error. We did a VLOOKUP. When we do a VLOOKUP, the first column is always our lookup value. So we are looking up the type of car, and that is the first column. The issue is sometimes, let me get back to the XLOOKUP, the lookup value that you are attempting to find is buried in your table, and you don't want to rearrange the table. So in this instance, we have manufacturer, car type, cost per mile, and cost per day. So what we want to do is we want to determine the mileage cost and the daily cost, and then I have the formula that will work for us. So we can come over here to the D19, and we will type in equal XLOOKUP. And a few more requirements. We have the XLOOKUP, we have the lookup value and the lookup array, then the return array, what to do if it's not found, and how do we want to match? What's our intention here? So the lookup array will just basically be the column here, car type. And then for mileage costs, the return array will just be the column cost. So you don't have to worry about anything else in your database. So our lookup value again is the car type. Now where are we going to look for that? It's going to be these cells. And you could name them just like you do the VLOOKUP, but you want to have each column named. So car type, and then what do we want to return? Well, in this instance, cost per mile. Then we hit the comma, and now we have what to do if it's not found. Notice that's an optional one. If you did not want to put anything here, you could just hit a comma, and you'll see that it goes to match mode. But I actually do want to have an entry here because if the car types are not typed properly, so I will in double quotes check spelling, and then the comma. And notice there are a variety of options for how we're matching it. And I like the match mode better than range lookup. If we do 0, it's an exact match. If it does not find economy spelled this way, then it's going to give us an error, and that's where it's going to find check spelling. An exact match or next smaller item, so you think of those that we were doing approximate, and it would find what was bigger than what we're looking for and would go to the previous one. That's pretty much what number 1 does. Minus number 1. Exact match or next larger one, so then it would jump to the next one, and then a wildcard. So we're just going to use exact match. And then that's all we need. So we will hit the close parenthesis, and we will hit enter. Okay, that's 10%. That's 10 cents. So let's do that one again. We'll just instead of copying it down, I'll just walk through it again. So we'll do one again for the mileage. So this will be XLOOKUP. The lookup value, again, we're going to be here now on row 20, so that's the van, comma. Where does that exist? Right over here. C7 and C13. And it's good that we're doing this one because I really should make this absolute because we're copying it down. Then I hit the comma. And what's my return array? Meaning, what do I want to put in there? So once it finds, for instance, van, it's going to go across. So I want to use this, and so I don't forget to make absolute. So once it finds the van, it's going to return the one next to it. So notice these have to be the same size. and then comma. If not found, this is where we're going to do check spelling. If you don't want to put an entry there, you just put a comma, then it will skip it because it is optional. And the match mode will be 0. And then we'll close it. And so van is 50 cents. So I'm going to come up here just so that I make these all absolute. There we go. And then we'll just copy that down. And so for a van, it's 50 cents. For luxury, it is, where is it? Right here. That's 25 cents. Let's say we change this van to an SUV. Once I hit enter, it should change that to 35 cents. There we go. So we'll just put it back for now. All right, well, let's do daily cost. So it's equal VLOOKUP. Our lookup value, again, is the car type. Our lookup range, or I'm sorry, our lookup array will again be the car type. So it'll be C7 to C13. We want that absolute. Now we want to have our return array, and that's where it's going to be cost per day. Make that absolute. So they don't have to be contiguous. These can be non-contiguous, and that's really the benefit of using the XLOOKUP. And then we do comma, and again we can do if not found. What's our return, our error if not found? So we're going to do check spelling. You can abbreviate if you want. You can say not found, whatever works for you. We did comma, and we want an exact match. And then I'll close that. Hit enter. So an economy car, where is it? Right here, $20 per day. And again, I can go change this bottom one to SUV. Upper and lower case doesn't matter. SUV is $50 a day. So the XLOOKUP is actually easier to use than the VLOOKUP. Now, the only thing I would have done differently is I would have selected all this data, and I would go into formula, and I would have choose create from selection. So I just want the top row, and I'll click OK, and then that would just name these various values. Not required, but you have to remember to make these absolute. The lookup array and the return array. And that is basically working with an XLOOKUP. We don't have to worry about the column index. We don't have to worry about the car type, our lookup value being the first column. So we can pull it from inside our table. And that is working with XLOOKUP.